In 2022, the World Health Organization estimated 149 million children under the age of 5 suffered from stunting, which means they're too short for their age, and 45 million people were estimated to be wasted, too thin for height. When we look closer to home in our region, we find in Asia Pacific has the highest burden of all forms of malnutrition in the world. And that includes childhood wasting, stunting, and micronutrient deficiencies. Acute food insecurity is also an issue. A recent WFP report estimated the number of people suffering from acute food insecurity in Asia Pacific to be 72 million. And across the region, 1.9 billion people were unable to afford a healthy diet. We know the incidence of food insecurity and poor nutrition is rising due to inflation, conflict, climate change, and the aftershocks of the COVID pandemic. Given the scale of the problem and its consequences, we need to be more quickly and collectively to find a systemic solution. All forms of severe child hunger and malnutrition are concentrated amongst the most economically vulnerable populations. We see much higher incidences in remote rural areas, within ethnic populations, especially amongst women and girls. People with disabilities face higher levels of malnutrition due to discriminatory norms and practices. Aside from vulnerable populations not being able to afford sufficient amounts of nutritious food, the problem is compounded by low levels of nutrition, literacy, and nutrition service delivery infrastructure at the community level. And it is unable to cover the needs of the most vulnerable children. All of these issues, coupled with the fact that the global food and beverage industry continues to promote unhealthy food, and with rising rates of urbanization, consumption of low-cost, convenient foods in Asia, which displaces nutritious food and significantly contributes to malnutrition-linked morbidity and mortality. All of these issues are conspiring to undermine the health and nutrition of girls and boys. Children should know their right to healthy food and be able to ask for and get enough to eat, to nourish them. Children deserve to be accounted for accurately in hunger nutrition reporting, not just estimated from adult statistics as they are now. We know we can do better. We have been working to reduce food insecurity and improve nutrition in World Vision for many years. In just Cambodia, China, Laos, Mongolia, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam, from October of 2022 to September of 2023, World Vision reached over 745,000 people and over 525,000 children through nutrition, livelihoods, and food security interventions. So we've been doing this work for a while, but we realize we just need to do more, and that is why we're here today. We also realize we cannot do it alone. So over the next 3 years, the Enough Global Campaign, World Vision will be uniting and intensifying our efforts to mobilize children, citizens, partners, and power holders to make sure hungry and malnourished children are more visible, heard, and prioritized in policy and in funding. They need to be better fed, nourished, and resilient. This Apfsd side event on Enough is an opportunity to listen to the children. You're going to be hearing some wonderful children's speakers today. These children are not just speakers. They're here as agents of change in their communities and in their countries. We're bringing their voices to a regional or global scale. They have a right to nutritious food and a right to participate. We acknowledge the efforts of our government partners to accelerate initiatives to reach the targets of SDG 2, and we are united in a mission with our development partners and champions of health and nutrition, such as the World Food Program and the Food Agricultural Association, Scaling Up Nutrition Movement, Child Rights Coalition Asia, to collectively and tirelessly find solutions to address hunger and malnutrition in Asia Pacific. We encourage all the participants to learn from our distinguished panel, from development partners and the children themselves, to share your thoughts. Together, let's say enough for children.
Hunger and malnutrition is very rampant in our world, in our society as of the moment. Millions of children were affected. It will affect their whole life and their environment.
Itu adalah suatu kondisi di mana anak itu tidak mendapatkan nutrisi yang cukup sehingga menyebabkan mereka mengalami stunting dan menyebabkan mereka ini bertumbuh secara tidak maksimal.
I am saddened about this issue because this is one of the social issues happening around the world. Everybody knows it is happening, but it is rarely being prioritized in countries.
Hunger and malnutrition should not be ignored or disregarded.
lama naikin kita apa namanya prashnya nanti terang udah tinggal.
Semoga kita pemimpin muda akan membawa agen perubahan, akan mengadvokasikan anak-anak juga ke pemerintah agar mereka tidak kelaparan dan kurang gizi.
Can speak with food council and government and research about it.
Saya ingin menyampaikan sosialisasi tentang malnutrisi dan nutrisi kepada anak-anak di daerah saya sehingga mereka bisa tercukupi dan sadar, serta masyarakat dan orang tua serta dengan pemerintah dan lembaga lainnya.
We're not alone. If we stick together, we can end this.
Enough.
Cukup.
Apa? Bahaya.
Kan. Cukup.
Apa boy?
Tama.
Enough.
Hello everyone, I am Yaru, a 16-year-old child leader from Cambodia, passionate in working with the young people to promote children's rights and responsibility. I will be hosting this segment on Voices of Children on ending hunger and malnutrition. I am excited to introduce my fellow young leaders across Asia and the Pacific. We have here Roy from Solomon Island, Puchita from Sri Lanka, C from Laos, and Naran from Cambodia. In a while, you will hear more from them about what their experiences and recommendations related to hunger, malnutrition, food security, and even climate change. It is also an honor for me to introduce to you all our adult panelists who will also share their thoughts and expertise as they answer questions that would be raised by our child leader. We have Mr. Idara Shrikant, the Asia Regional Representative of Scaling Up Nutrition Movement Secretariat. Mr. Nalin Munasinghe, the Assistant FAO Representative of Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in Sri Lanka. Ms. Amihan Apuwewa, the Executive Director of Child's Right Coalition Asia. So friends, without any further ado, let me give the floor to our first child speaker, Roy from Solomon Island. Hi, Roy. How are you? It's really nice to meet you again.
Hi, Yaro. Well, it's nice to meet you again, and everyone. My name is Roy, and I am the young leader representing World Vision Solomon Island. It is indeed an honor to be part of this event, Child Hunger and Malnutrition here in the Solomon Islands. In my country, child hunger issues of having nutritious meal is a major concern for us children here. Why? Because prices of healthy locally grown food keep increasing every day, and most families find it difficulty to afford healthy meals. Like a parcel of cabbage here in our local market costs around 15 SPD, equivalent to $1.50 USD. This is very expensive. Even teenage pregnancy or early marriage hinders young parents from accessing information in relation to healthy meal, and this most time lead to young couples not giving their babies or children healthy and nutritious meal. that is crucial for a child development or even shortage of food due to the climate change and other natural disasters like sea level rises, cyclones, and even landslide have negatively impact our cultural producers, and this pose a risk to our health well-being. Hence, how can children access healthy food when our source of food is always impacted by the climate change? Those are our recommendations. More awareness for our rural communities about healthy meal. The government should initiate way to support citizens to access of seeds, cabbage seeds, bean seeds, so to enable people to grow their garden since we are relying on our locally grown food. Industrialized country must cut down on carbon emissions since we are severely impacted by the climate change, which pose a threat to our only means of survival, which is our only natural resources. Based on the recommendation, I would like to ask Amihan this question. My question is, what plans do global leaders have to end child hunger, malnutrition, and climate change in Asia and the Pacific? Thank you so much for your listening.
Thank you, Roy, for sharing those insights. May we request Ms. Amihan from CRC Asia to respond to that question?
Well, thank you so much, Roy, for that question. But I think in what you said, you already pointed out some of the most important things that global leaders should be doing. In our area, our leaders, for example, in the ASEAN countries, have agreed as early as 2017 in the declaration that they should be ending all forms of malnutrition. This was 8 years ago. And then after that, they even made an regional integrated food security plan, as well as a strategic plan of action on food security. What are the things that they promised to do? First, they promised that they have to sustain and increase food production. Secondly, they said that we should try to avoid having losses of harvests, because you know that the farmers work so hard to plant and harvest, but sometimes there are many things that go wrong, that not all of the food is used in a proper way. So a lot of it is wasted, and they estimate sometimes that up to 30% of what is harvested by farmers is wasted. Government leaders also have to make sure that there are roads and transport facilities to make sure that the harvest of the farmers gets to the people who need to eat it, especially in the other rural areas as well as in the cities. But another important role of governments is to make sure that food is affordable. So that also means that government should make sure that the workers get enough wages, because even if the food is less expensive, but if the people don't earn enough, they're not going to be able to buy it for their children. Yeah. So that's another role that the world leaders have to do. They have to make sure that food is available and it's accessible and it's affordable. So to do that, they have to make sure that the farmers are able to get the inputs, the seeds, the proper production materials, like if they need to use fertilizer, for example, organic fertilizer, there has to be the technology. There are many things that the leaders have to do. And then the most important point also is, if there's an emergency, there has to be a system, a regional plan of how countries will help each other to address the food emergencies. No? So you'll notice that the leaders all have very important jobs. No? And that's why it's so important for us to choose the right leaders, isn't it? What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, that's true.
So I just tried to make it very short, but I think you understand, all of us understand that we cannot do it by ourselves. You have to make sure that our leaders are responsive to what our people need.
Thank you so much.
you for sharing your expert thought, Ms. Aminhan. Government, by addressing that, government's role is to make sure the food is affordable and sustainable for everyone. And thank you for your expert thoughts. And now let us hear from Kajita, a fellow young advocate from Sri Lanka.
Thank you, Yaru. Hi, everyone, and Vanakkam, which is a greeting in my mother tongue Tamil. I'm Kujita, and I'm 16 years old. I'm studying at Angel National School. I am a child leader in my community, and I have been involved in Children's Club for 3 years. And I like the work we do for our community. As we are talking about food security today, I would like to talk about pregnant mothers who have difficulties eating nutritious meals due to economic reasons. This results in which babies continue to be in health issues. These issues continue to be a problem as the child grows. So, my question to you, Dr. Nalin, is as the Food and Agriculture Organization, what nutrition sensitive agriculture programs or initiatives have you recommended or introduced? Over to you, Nalin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kojita. Good morning. It's really interested to see the young leaders of Asia Pacific region is coming and talking about this very, very important topic that we all need to talk, I guess. So therefore, once again, thank you, Kojita, for your insightful question and for sharing your experiences as a child leader in your community or maybe our community in Sri Lanka. It's inspiring to see young individuals like you taking this action and also trying to make a salient difference in the country and thereby in the Asia Pacific region. In response to your question, since 2022, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations here in Sri Lanka has been actively involved in various initiatives to address the food and nutrition security issues, particularly among vulnerable groups such as pregnant mothers and children. Now, one of the key interventions that FAO has recommended and implemented is the promotion of nutrition-sensitive agriculture programs. Now, these programs aim to integrate nutrition goals into agricultural policies, strategies, and practices, ensuring that agricultural interventions not only increase food production, but also improve the national food security, food quality, and food safety. Now, if I start talking about a couple of early things that FAO Sri Lanka has done, FAO has supported in incorporating nutrition in the Postgraduate Institute of Medicine curriculum in this country. Basically, you are talking about doctors. So the first curriculum and the course that we name as Education for Effective Nutrition in Action, we call it ENACT, and FAO supported bringing these issues into this curriculum. Now, at the same time, I can tell you that FAO also supported the technical and scientific process that needed to be followed in developing the food-based dietary guidelines. I'm sure you may have heard these things. These are very important, and we worked with the Ministry of Health and Nutrition and Indigenous Medicine during that time. And with FAO's support, we were managed to launch FBDGs in Sri Lanka, which are country-specific and are one of the FAO WHO recommended tools to improve health, eating habits, healthy eating habits, and also you could say lifestyles of individuals and populations. Now, as FAO interventions in the recent past, since you asked me to answer in your question, now we have a number of projects we developed and we implemented in the recent past to support especially pregnant women and small children or malnourished, nutritionally defected children in the country. Now, one project is that New Zealand funded program to enhance food access for over 2,250 children under 5 years old. This initiative provided direct food supplements, and we promoted nutrition awareness and established home-based kitchen gardens across these 2,250 households in Nuwara Eliya and Monongahela districts of Sri Lanka. At the same time, we had another joint UN program which targeted 12 underserved low-income communities within the Colombo municipal area, benefiting over 600 households. Now, in this project, FAO, in collaboration with UN volunteers, spearheaded community engagement focusing on agriculture and nutrition. By prioritizing home gardening linked to nutrition, FAO addressed preventable health risks, particularly among women and children. Additionally, FAO and UNODC established 2 community plots within youth correctional facilities fostering agriculture production. Now, the food security initiative that was funded by Australian government was a very interesting program for us, simply because we were managed to engage over thousands and thousands of school children in establishing entrepreneurial school gardens. Now, this became a very interesting program because it did not only produce some food, but it basically helped us trying to change the entire dietary patterns, dietary behaviors of school children. Now, initially we started with 400 schools, but currently even we can see in total 311 schools established links with buyers even to sell the agricultural produce from school gardens, which is going to be really important. And these initiatives helped us changing their behavioral patterns, and alongside these training sessions, beneficiaries also received different cash assistance, and they were managed to improve their health and nutritional status within and among their family members. Now, finally, I also would like to talk about our food safety and food policy program. Always we talk about food policies, food safeties, but without an act, as you all know, we can't implement. So, Kujita, I'm really honored to have been invited for this, and thank you very much for the valuable question. I think we have still a lot more to do, but FAO remains committed to support efforts to ensure food security and nutrition for all, especially among vulnerable groups like pregnant mothers and children. I wish you all the best, not only you, every child leader here in this group, to do the best for you, and FAO would support at our capacity always. Thank you, Kujita. Have a wonderful life.
Thank you, sir.
That is truly informative, Mr. Nalin. This time, let us listen to see a young leader from Laos.
Thank you, Yalo. Have you ever stopped and appreciate simple things like a loving family, a steady home, and warm daily food? Well, hundreds of thousands of Lao children don't experience those blessings. Sabadi, I am Si Sawan Sen Bunsu, and I would like to share a piece of my life with you. My family depends on farming, but climate change brings droughts and floods, hurting our crops. Things worse in 2018. Our rice field usually yielding 23 bags of rice, dropped to just 9. When times were tough, my dad had to get a bamboo shoot and cassava from the forest. My mom did her best, turning preserved vegetable into meal. Every day was a challenge, and meat became a luxury. It made me realize that what we had was not enough. In those tough times, it saddened me to see my brother give up his education, swapping books for brick at construction sites to support art for a year. My parents had to sell our land to get him back to the school. But not everyone was as lucky as my brother. I've seen girl classmates drop out at 14 for marriage, or boy working to fight poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope my story raised awareness that this issue should be enough and ended. Every child deserves complete nutrition and the right to survive, participate, and thrive. On behalf of all children in Laos, I leave this message. You are our hope to help us build a healthier and better life. In closing, I want to share how grateful I am for participating in these platforms to engage with regional leaders. However, children and youth, sometimes we feel hopeless that our voice won't count. And I would like to ask Ms. Amihan Avueva, Regional Executive Director of Child Rights Coalition. What can we do to ensure that our voice are heard and truly considered so we can actually contribute to national decisions that will impact our future? ขอบใจ Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, C. I mean, helping us to understand better what the situation is for many children in a region is so important. I think you also pointed out some very important things. One is that our children feel the situation firsthand. So you must have the courage to speak out about it because you know it better than many other leaders who are sometimes very far away from the situation of children. So children have a right and should really make it a point to get together with other children because you can find support from your friends. And if you work together, your voices will have more strength and more meaning. So I think for young people, it's so important to form associations, to form clubs, and then to make sure that the things that concern you, like the lack of food, is really voiced out. You have to speak out. And maybe there are many ways of doing this, like developing songs, rapping about it, making drawings. You know, in Lao, you have beautiful, you sew beautifully. You know, I've seen where people sew about the situation in the farms. So you have to make all sorts of ways to make your voices heard creatively. But then you have to try to identify who are the people that we can reach, like your local leaders. But sometimes it's also important that you try to reach the leaders at the next higher level or at the national level or the regional level, because sometimes you know that sometimes these old people, these leaders, sometimes they disregard the voices that are very close to them. So it's so important that when you get together, the leaders, the adults get to realize that you have numbers, you have the strength, and you're very clear about what you want to say. So I think these are some of the most important. Be creative, find ways to do that, and then also propose concrete solutions. So the idea of developing school gardens, for example, I think it's a wonderful thing. And you also have to work to protect your environment. For example, in Lao, you have many different kinds of vegetables that are indigenous to your area. So I think it's very important that you try to protect that. So thank you so much for giving me a chance to help you look for the different ways that you can speak out and really make a difference to make sure all children will have enough. Thank you so much, C.
Thank you, Chair.
That is truly inspiring. After hearing about C's story and Miss Amihan's incredible idea for C to implement in his community for his voice to be heard. So that is truly, truly inspiring. And after we heard from C, now let us travel to Cambodia and listen to Naran.
Morning, distinguished guests. My name is Naren from Cambodia. I'm here today to draw your attention to the alarming fact that 30% of children in my neighborhood are currently undernourished. This greatly affects children's health, causing their body to become stunted and hindering the full development of their brains. The majority of people in my community can't produce enough food to have sufficient daily intake. They have to borrow money from others in order to buy food. As a result, children and young people have to drop out of schools and go to work instead to support their families, earn more money to survive. The main cause of this whole situation is deeper than what we commonly blame. Poverty, low agricultural output, natural disasters, they all they are all intensified by climate change at a life-threatening rate. If we choose to ignore it, it will have great negative impact on the lives of people I know, and very likely people you know. I would like to urgently call upon the United Nations, NGOs, and the government to play a more active role in fighting against malnutrition, food insecurity, and climate change. And because the issue directly affects children like us, and bodies enjoy solution too. Through all our participation in community activities and decision-making process at all levels, we can join force with you to make a difference. I would like to ask a question to Mr. Srikan. One woman area, when the children and youth can be happy, small and enjoy healthy food. How would you support or encourage my government to improve or make it better? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Naren. Thank you very much for your question. It's inspiring to see all the young children taking the lead for advancing the food and nutrition agenda in your countries. So it's very inspiring and keep it up. In your speech, you already set the tone for multi-stakeholder collaboration to address the food and nutrition challenges in the country. You already called upon the government, United Nations, civil societies, and other stakeholders to address this burning issue of food and malnutrition, food insecurity and malnutrition. Incepted in 2010, Scaling Up Nutrition Movement, it's a global nutrition movement led by the countries committed to the understanding that good nutrition is the best investment of the future. So Scaling Up Nutrition Movement, it's a multi-stakeholder platform which brings together 66 countries and over 6,000 donors, civil societies, business entities, UN organizations, academia, and research organizations at all levels to end malnutrition in all its forms. The beauty of the Scaling Up Nutrition movement is that it's country-owned, it's country-led, meaning it's driven by the countries, it's led by the country governments, rallied behind all the partners and stakeholders working in the food and nutrition space in the country. Everyone rallies behind the government to advance the nutrition agenda in the country. Cambodia is part of the Sun movement, and it has placed immense efforts in improving the nutrition status of this population. I'm very happy to also mention that Cambodia is also one of the forerunner in terms of how the coordination of all the parties and partners involved in the nutrition come together and to address the food and nutrition challenges in the country. So how do we do it? How does the Sun movement ensure that the food and nutrition agenda is always in the political agenda, is always being prioritized? Number one, by bringing people together. As I mentioned, Scaling Up Nutrition movement, it's a movement where every party involved in the food and nutrition agenda come together in a single platform as a multi-sectoral, multi-stakeholder platform. The UN entities, the business organizations, donor entities, civil society organizations, academia and research organizations, and yes, very importantly now, the youth champions, everybody come to a table, discuss what's important for the country, and they agree on establishing a coherent policy and a legal framework for a food and nutrition, better food and nutrition agenda in the country. That is the second part of it, in a coherent policy and legal frameworks. Third, when everybody come together and they agree on a single framework, then everybody come together to align their resources, everybody join hands, technically, financially, and everybody moves together for a one single agreed action plan. Banking upon the Sun Movement Civil Society Network Youth Leaders Program, Youth Leaders for Nutrition Program, the Sun Movement has now also come up with a roadmap for youth engagement in the scaling up nutrition movement. Most importantly, we are looking at countries where we want young children like you to take the lead, come to this multi-stakeholder platform, to discuss with all the stakeholders and ensure that your voice is heard. Even in your schools, in your communities, please form your nutrition clubs, have nutrition quizzes, nutrition Olympiads, advocate for community nutrition gardens, school nutrition gardens, and Sun is always willing to support through the Sun Civil Society networks, the youth champions to come together as a Sun Youth Network and to be part of these multi-stakeholder discussions to advance the food and nutrition agenda in your country. Thank you very much, Naren. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Shrikant and Naran. At the moment, Naran was speaking in Khmer, but you guys just heard a translation in English. So, wow, we just heard so many powerful statements and recommendations from both children and adults. This show our unified commitment to end hunger and malnutrition, as well as the issue contributing to this. Friends, let us send our virtual appreciation and our appreciation to task speaker and our adult panelists for sharing their authentic voices and expertise. At this juncture, let us hear a reflection message from Regional Nutritionist World Food Program, Ms. Anusara Singkumawong.
Thank you, Yaru. I would like to, first of all, express my appreciation to the World Vision for organizing this event and also all the youths that are here with us today. Actually, it's very inspiring for me to hear all of your voices, and to hear what you think about the issue from your perspective. Because I think a lot of time we spend so much time, talking to each other with the governments, with UN partners, with NGOs, but we often forget that you, actually the youth, are the ones that will make change in future. And I think, the future of the world and the future of your countries depends on you. So it's really amazing for me to see that you have picked up on this issue, to make the world like free from hunger, but also end malnutrition as one of your priorities. So really appreciative to you all. Maybe just a bit on the World Food Program. So we are the world's largest humanitarian organization. And in Asia Pacific in 2023, we assisted more than 31 million people and in the region. But one of our flagship program is a school feeding program. And in 2023, we managed to reach almost 4 million school-aged children in the region. However, more and more, the nature of the World Food Program's work is to work with the government, but also engage, with civil society. So this is a really good opportunity for us to be here and to hear also young people's voice and the change that you want to see in the world, so that there could be that connection between the policy makers and the ones that are receiving those policies decision. I would like to also reflect all the points that we have heard from our colleagues earlier about the role of government to support making sure that nutritious food are affordable, accessible, and available for all, and having support to the right people, including pregnant women. We heard from one of the young people, and also we heard from our FAO colleagues about working on nutrition curriculum. And I think that's very, very important point to make, because the World Food Program, we are also working with UNICEF and other partners within the ASEAN countries to promote a comprehensive package of school nutrition for young people, for school-aged children, which we are promoting that, there should be nutritious meals in school. There should be a positive school food environment, which means that for you all, you should have healthy choices. When you go to school, and if you get pocket money from your parents, or if you have small money, you want to buy food, at least those foods should be healthy and nutritious to keep your nutrition as optimum as possible. And of course, we would also like to advocate for the importance of nutrition literacy in the curriculum, so that as you grow old, there will be chance to learn already about nutrition, because we believe that young people are actually the voice that can change your community and also your household, because in many household, parents listen to their children, the community see and are influenced by the family. So we really hope that the work that World Vision is doing and also all the partners are doing to engage with you um, will actually have accumulative effect, and for the community and also for the country overall. So it's not just within you, but I think you have the opportunities to make big change. So I again would like to applaud and also look forward that there will be more opportunities for the World Food Program to work with young people, like through our partners, to call for changes, but also to hear your voice in all of our consultations and the work that we do moving forward, especially within the school platform, within the education sector, and how that affects also food systems and the demand for healthy food across the board. So I think I will just stop there. And again, thank you to everyone for this opportunity.
சம்பளம் தோறும் இல்லாட்டி வெறிஞ்சோறு மின்மிசி சாப்பிட கஷ்டம்தான்.
Mabuhay!
Hello and good morning, everyone.
I am Ella, child leader here from Luzon here in the Philippines.
And I am Aklima, child leader from Mindanao in the Philippines.
As we continue with our conversation, I would just like to say that it was truly inspiring to listen to our fellow child leaders as they present their recommendations that address the issue of food security, migration, and climate change. Right, Aklima?
Yes, Ella, it's true. Children's voices are powerful. Listening to the young leaders' recommendation and responses of our stakeholders, the magnitude of complicity and emerging affecting the world, especially children like us. Climate change, food security, hunger, and malnutrition.
Talking about hunger and malnutrition, many children here in the Philippines recognize that these are indeed issues in their community that need urgent attention. In a series of consultations with 245 children across the major islands of the Philippines, I was given the opportunity to facilitate the one in Luzon and listen to how they defined hunger as a challenge or problem that is faced at various levels as individuals, as a family, and as a community. This highlights how impactful hunger and malnutrition can be to the whole being of a person, more so to a child. They also shared that among the root causes of hunger are poverty, unemployment, and social inequality.
ended, hunger and malnutrition not only create risk, also negatively impact the lives of children. That is why we need a collaborative and multi-sectoral approach to address these issues. I am sure you will agree with me, Ella, that in World Vision, we are privileged to have opportunity to participate in activities where our voices are heard and valued. One of those activities is the Enough campaign to end hunger and malnutrition. World Vision, together with its partner, is committed to help the most vulnerable children express fullness of life.
That's right. World Vision believes that responding to issues of hunger and malnutrition needs strong multi-sectoral collaborations and partnerships with different sectors such as government, non-government, private sectors, children, families, and their communities.
And the dialogue that we witnessed earlier confirms that all of us have shared responsibility to address issues of hunger and malnutrition. To all the children who are watching right now, we encourage you to let your voice be heard. For adults and duty bearers, we thank you for your commitment to creating policies, programs, and interventions to address issues affecting us. We hope that allocation of resources to implement those initiatives will be prioritized. We also ask you to include us in the dialogue and allow us to meaningfully participate in addressing all issues affecting us. We are one with you in your commitment to building a better world for our generation and to come.
Thank you, Aklima. I agree with you. We need to commit and do our share as change comes from within. One commitment can change the lives of others. And with that, it is our privilege and joy to listen to our regional leader from World Vision International, South Asia and Pacific, Sherian Thomas, as he shares World Vision International's global commitment to ending child hunger and malnutrition through the Enough campaign.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ela, for the invitation to speak now. And greetings to all our colleagues, partners, friends, and especially to all of you young change makers who are present with us as we launch this campaign. It's been such a joy, and as some of the other speakers said, such an inspiration. And it gives us hope that with the young change makers that we have, and many like you in your communities, we would really be able to see change. We would see an end to the problems that beset us. Since much has already been said, my role is really, in some sense, to summarize some of the points made by our speakers and change makers. The first is to look at the question, why are we having this campaign? And I think that question has been well answered in terms of how in Asia in particular, we have the highest number of children who are stunted and wasted as compared to anywhere in the world. And the region I look after, which is South Asia, Pacific, and South Asia in particular, has the highest number. And this number did not change when the hunger index was computed in 2023. So with the most severely food insecure individuals in South Asia, it is really important that this campaign reaches its highest intensity in this region. This food crisis will exacerbate malnutrition for women and children. And we all know how children are most affected by food insecurity. The time to act is now. If we don't act now, a generation of vulnerable children will not reach their potential. As Sai had talked about earlier, sometimes when they are too hungry, they won't be able to focus in school. They are so poor, they're forced into work. Some get married off early in the hope that there'll be one mouth less to feed at home, just so that the family can survive a little longer. Chronic malnutrition affects brain development and will keep children from reaching their full potential as they grow. And that is something we don't want to see. So very clearly, children bear the brunt of an unequal food system. And that is further affected by conflicts. Thankfully, our region has lesser levels of conflicts as compared to many other parts in the world. But we have conflicts of different kinds. We have inequality of different kinds, systemically as well practiced, but equally climate change. Every child deserves the food that they need to have a healthy body, a healthy mind, and to grow in all dimensions of well-being. Every child and every family need to have the right amount of food, and not just quantity, but the right mix of food as well on their tables. So what is needed? That's the second question that I seek to answer. We believe that it will take a very comprehensive approach, which is both multi-sector and multi-stakeholder, in having different players and different stakeholders come together in this entire process. We need to talk and advocate with the right kind of data. So we need a lot more of data as well and research as well. And I'm glad that we are heading in this direction. We need sustainable food production solutions, which are locally accepted and promoted by the community, and more importantly, which responds to the challenge of climate change, and in the context of climate change, can protect the environment for children and future generations. We need to clearly address the issue of gender inequality. Women, usually who are the primary caregivers, have often very little power in terms of financial decisions in the household, and equally the way in which food can be allocated. And so we must urgently address these issues of violence and inequality, both of which can cause and impact food security among vulnerable children. And finally, I think all of us need to advocate very strongly for school meals programs. These are a great way in which at least one meal, which is of the right balance and the right nutritive content, is available to children, apart from the meals that they get at home. Finally, what is World Vision's commitment? We talked about funding, and that was Roy's question. What is it that all of you can do? I think there is funding that is available, and there is enough funding that is available in the world for this need. We are, as World Vision, globally committing $4.9 billion, close to $5 billion over the period from financial year 24 to 26 for this purpose. In the South Asia Pacific region itself, we would be spending close to 250 billion, about 237 million in terms of our estimates for ending child hunger and malnutrition. As Amihan very rightly pointed out, we need to have the right political leaders, and therefore electing the right leaders is important. The good news is that our governments in this region are strongly committed to improve the delivery of health and nutrition services. And we, as World Vision and our partners, can be strong allies of the government in reaching this goal. So rather than work on different tracks, it's about working on a single track, a common track, which will allow us to have children reach their fullest potential by the work that we do. Yes, we recognize that we cannot do it alone. Nobody can do it alone. All of us, multi-sector, multi-stakeholders, need to be involved. And especially children and youth, especially our young change makers, can make a huge difference in contributing to this comprehensive approach. We need partners, and we really want to thank our partners who are here with us today: WFP, FAO, CRC Asia, Sun Movement Asia. Thank you so much for spending this time with us as we launch this campaign. We need you in this journey. We all need each other in this journey, and we will continue to work together. With enough people like us, and with many more, and the many partners that we have, we can all ensure that there is enough nutritious food, enough funding from ourselves and from government, enough political will, and enough that can be done to end child hunger and malnutrition. Enough is enough. Let's work towards ending child hunger and malnutrition. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much for our regional leader, Cherian Thomas, for your message. Truly, we need to work together in pursuing holistic and sustainable intervention to end child hunger and malnutrition. Now, from one regional leader to another, let us hear from Tirari Ferrari of World Vision International East Asia.
Thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say it's been such a pleasure to be with all of you today, especially with our child leaders, hearing from you. You're just such eloquent speakers, and it's a real just honor to be on the same stage as you, and a little bit humbling because you are so incredibly dynamic, considering your age. So I'm humbled. But let me say, I also want to thank our other partners that have been here today, giving up their time and their energy to join with us on this campaign. We've heard a lot about the impact of hunger and malnutrition on children and the communities where they live. We've heard from our adult presenters, FAO, WFP, SUN, and CRC Asia, that there are a number of initiatives going on, activities and networks working on this issue. It's not like we haven't been working on this. The challenge is we know it works. We just need to do it. And what we've done to date hasn't been enough. We know we can do better. And that is one of the reasons why World Vision has decided to launch the Enough campaign. We really want to just really focus our attention on this issue and see over the next 3 years if we can really make more substantive progress towards ending hunger and nutrition in the communities we serve. So over the next 3 years, we'll be committing funding, as Cherian has mentioned. We'll be adding a lot of attention. Our leaders will be involved, but we can't do it alone. We'll be working with governments, regional intergovernment bodies like ASEAN, UN agencies like WFP, UNICEF, Sun Network, FAO, civil society organizations like CRC Asia, private donors and supporters, faith communities, and most of all, especially the children and young people. We all need to come together to reduce hunger and malnutrition and bring us closer to reaching that goal of zero hunger by 2030. But in this campaign, we also want to make sure girls and boys are visible and heard, not just in forums such as this, but at national and regional levels. We need to give them a place not only to speak up, to consult with them, but actually get them to influence change and policy change. Because we want every boy and girl to have sufficient nurturing food so that they can enjoy good health and reach their full potential. Now, depending on the country context, each country will be doing something a little bit differently, but we all will be aligning our efforts to support existing government strategic priorities to improve nutrition and reducing food insecurity. We'll be advocating for school meal programs, especially in the ASEAN nations, and we'll be working to increase our work in nutrition, livelihoods, food security, and mitigating the impacts of climate change. As we've all said, it's a huge problem. We've heard the numbers. No one's going to solve it on their own. So our feeling is if we cast a big net and we look to partner with multiple like-minded individuals, including the private sector, we can bring attention to the scale of the problem of hunger and malnutrition in Asia and the Pacific. And together, we think we can rally even more support, more funding, more attention, perhaps greater critical political will to scale evidence-based solutions to end hunger and reduce malnutrition. So we hope you'll join with us to say enough to a world where anybody in the world, especially a child, has to go to bed hungry. God bless.
Thank you again to our regional leaders. What a meaningful and inspiring day. We have a lot to look forward to, and it is my prayer that our commitment would fuel us to do more to end hunger and malnutrition. Before we end, would you want to have another opportunity where you can support us, young people, in our call to end child hunger and malnutrition? Please sign up with us. Visit the link posted in the chat box now and sign up. Once again, thank you for joining us today, and we wish you a great day ahead. Together, we can end child hunger and malnutrition.
We have enough.
Enough.
Sufficient. A life of plenty for every child has always been possible, but that's not the reality. Instead, many places in the world have plenty of hardship.
This is scary. This is war.
And need.
Las plantas se están resecando.
Child hunger and malnutrition is the worst it's been in generations. But a solution is possible today. Now is our time. We've had enough all along. Now We've had enough. It's time to make sure there's enough choice for every child. Enough nutritious food, produced responsibly and sustainably, so children can thrive everywhere. When we stand together, we can be a force to end child hunger and malnutrition. Let's come together from every country and every background and stand with children to say we've had enough. Now it's our time to join together and say enough. Take action today at www.wvi.org/enough.
Thanks for those who share insights in the chat. We appreciate your active engagement and participation. We're taking note. Thank you, everyone.